That meme that Elon Musk posted the other day that showed the right, left, and center and how the left is moving farther to the left. I want to know, as a reformed lefty guy yourself, can you tell me one issue in the entire world of politics where the American right has moved farther to the right? Because I've been asking a lot of people this question. I can't think of any.
No,
and I'm being like sincere about that. I really can't think of any. Like this certainly is not it, because they've been trying to end this shit for 40 fucking years.
Yeah, you know but I actually think it is abortion, just simply because in the last 2 years you've had states flip it on their own, where that hasn't happened. I don't think in my lifetime. Is it Texas, Missouri, and Florida? I think have laws in place, and those weren't there. Everything.
But that's also a reaction to what some of the Democrat states were doing, where New York passed, basically post-birth abortion laws, and then they lit up the Empire State Building because they were so proud of what they passed. So in that regard, both sides have. But your question about what the right's done to move more right, first, I would say, the traditional right-left thing sort of doesn't make sense anymore, because Trump freaking flipped this thing so upside down and so changed how everybody viewed politics that what we all would have considered right and left of 10 years ago barely makes any sense anymore. So for the most part, it's very easy for everyone to see how the left went bananas with everything. And you can very much see how the right moved leftward. So you could take something like gay rights. For the most part, or let's say marriage equality, for the most part, people on the right, they have their own personal religious beliefs, but gay marriage is sort of settled and done. People are basically okay with it. You don't see any mainstream politicians railing against it anymore. So by a traditional left-right thing, that means that the right moved left, meaning that Trump came in as a first-term president and he was for gay marriage.
Right.
Even Barack Obama, first time around, was not. So that proves your first point, that yes, the chart made sense. Everybody was moving left. In terms of who has any position really moved right, I mean, this is where people get confused as to what right and left are.
Yeah.
To me, left and right are, left means you like centralized power, and right means you like individual rights. Eventually, you go so far around that thing that you get the alt-right, where they end up liking that same collectivism as the left, right? That's what they call the horseshoe theory. You kind of, or the fishhook theory, you end up going so far around that the collectivists on both sides are arguing for the same freaking thing. They just don't realize it. For example, it's the lefties who took Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben and the Land O'Lakes lady off of all of our products. That kind of sounds like something that the white supremacists would like, right? We took all of the people of color off the products, but it was the lefties that did it. As far as, are there any positions that moved rightward in America? I think only in the last year, because of COVID, where suddenly people started returning to states' rights, which is a little more of a conservative, say, constitutional belief, something that I definitely believe in. But I don't think anything in terms of what people think right means, meaning somehow having to do with racism or something like that. I know that's not what you're saying. But I think the right has moderated for the most part, while the left has pretty much gone bananas.
But that's the instinct when you are someone that's political foundation is rooted in individualism, right? Like, you have to moderate. There's no version of libertarian authoritarianism. It doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. And if it manifests that way, then that's not what it is, right?
Right. So, what do you make of these people that say that they're left libertarians? I always hear this, these left libertarians, these social, I don't know what the hell it means. I've never understood it, but they keep saying it. And they always have anime avatars on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same, like anybody, these young kids, and it's the reason that Churchill said, if you're young and conservative, you have no heart. If you're old and liberal, you have no brain, right? That's a very famous quote, but I expect young people without life experience to be like, this is a virtually untested idea. The idea that we operate on the basic assumption that all people are good and that there are no bad actors. Because that's the only way these utopias work, unless there's an authoritarianism behind it. And that's what the left libertarians are. They're just like, they've deluded themselves. Hey, man, can't we just all get along? You know what I mean?
Right. They're just smoking too
work.
much weed, basically.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just look.
And
at
they're not smoking more weed than me, by the way.
No, nobody is.
Yeah.
Nobody's smoking more than Dan.
You're just smoking the better stuff.
Yeah.
I'm getting it from Elon's farm down here in Austin.
Exactly. But when I look at the left, I just look at it as a broken party. You have two different parties in one, where you have the progressives who want, shit super radical, and then you have the more moderate Democrats that are more traditional that we're used to in our lifetime.
Yeah, but the conservative side is the same. The conservative side is George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and all these assholes that want war and fucking they they presided over the largest expansion of the federal government in the history of this country.
No, I understand that, but they all vote together, and that's the thing. Is there is some, absolute fucktown crazy kids here on the right side that are super all right, that even I can't get behind, where I'm just like, all right, I can't go with Boebert and that type of shit. But they all vote the same. Now, the problem with the Democratic Party is they don't vote the same. And it's clear when you have the presidency, the Senate, and the Congress, you should be passing everything in sight.
Yeah, this is the second time in 10 years that they had it, right? They had it in when they passed Obamacare as well.
Right,
in 2011.
and you haven't had any of that. I think the biggest bill to try to move forward for Biden thus far is the Build Back Better plan, and that was nuked by their own party. They had the votes. They could have easily passed that through if they wanted to, but their own party is fractured, and they can't come together on any of these topics. And if they do lose in November, and it is a bloodbath, like it is expected, what are they going to do for the other 2 years but bitch about what their own party didn't do?
Well, first off, let's all pray that fracture remains, right? Because thankfully, because of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, they didn't get Build Back Better to go through. They've still managed to wreck the economy without getting more spending done. So it's a good thing that they don't walk fully in lockstep.
Well, they got the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which, by the way, wasn't necessarily passed bipartisan. They just put the word bipartisan in the name of the bill. That's really funny. That's like Honest Dave's used cars or some shit.
Yeah.
Well, usually when they say bipartisan, they just mean a bunch of people all decided to do a lot of bad shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what they mean. But the point is that there are a couple old school Democrats left. So let's say Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin. But, if you think of the prototypical Democrat, when people think of a liberal Democrat, they usually think of JFK. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That's the 180 reverse of Bernie Sanders. That's the 180 reverse of what the modern liberal progressive Democrat is, of what AOC is, and what the energy of the party is. So somebody like, say, a Chuck Schumer, or even, believe it or not, even a Nancy Pelosi, 10 years ago was not this bananas insane.
Right.
But they have all decided, and I think it's to your point about individual rights, because they don't know where rights come from. They don't know what made this country great. They just believe, you should use state power when you kind of feel like you should use it. Where on the right, people have a basic understanding of limited government and individual rights. So they all get dragged to their worst inclinations all the time. I mean, at what point have they ever turned back on any of this stuff? So I would say the more fractured they are, the better. And for the most part, even though there's a lot of sucky Republicans, obviously, and Republicans have dragged us into a lot of bunch of bad wars and done all kinds of spending. As I always say on the show, you don't have to be a Democrat, or you don't have to be a Republican, but you can't be a Democrat. I think that's basically where we're at this point. You have to roughly vote for Republicans right now, whether you think they're good or not.
It's interesting, the discourse that's going on right now. More and more I see people who feel like they have no political home at all. And I wonder if, you're seeing it on the left as well. All these kids that thought they were getting their student loans forgiven, they are fucking pissed. Right. Understandably so. Not that I think they should have their loans forgiven. But if somebody says they're going to do it and then they win because of your help and then they fucking tell you sorry, can't do that.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
And even Pelosi the other day said they don't even have the authority to do it, which is, maybe she shouldn't have said that in public. But you're seeing it, both sides are it's not even that people are going towards the middle. It's that people don't know what, left versus right is not a thing anymore. There's no classical liberal versus like laissez-faire conservative debate going on in American society anymore. That's just not a thing.
It's Bloods and Crips.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, that's the interesting thing. At some point, the United States political system has to redefine itself and choose new names and new mascots and new bullet points, because right now it's everybody fighting everybody, right?
Well, I'll tell you, there's one guy doing it, and he's the governor of the state that I'm in right now. It's Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the guy that's doing it right. He has fought the system. He has fought Disney. He has fought the medical establishment. He's fought the political establishment. All the guys doing. It would be hard if I asked either one of you, like, give me a great DeSantis quote. It's hard for you to come up with it. All he's doing is throwing out sane, rational, decent, I would say center to center right stuff. Get off my back. Let us live freely. Do not mandate shit on us. Get out of our kids' schools, et cetera, et cetera. It is all stuff that we all knew to be true 10 years ago. And I think he's modeling it right. And by the way, the guy's only, I think he's 42 or 43 years old, former member of the military, lawyer. This guy's got the freaking pedigree that is right. I've met him a couple of times. He's a good dude. And I think that is what the future will be. I think part of the problem that you're talking about is that we're dealing with a bunch of geriatric people that should be retired and should be grandparents right now. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi is running for re-election again. The woman's 800 years old. It's like, go be a grandma, lady. What are you doing? Joe Biden obviously is cognitively gone. Get out of here, man. Trump is old. It does, across the board, McConnell, all these guys, get out of the way and let Gen X. How old are you guys? I'm 45.
41.
33, same age as Jesus Christ.
He's 65. Totally he's 65 years old.
Yeah, we're all around the same age.
But the point is, so Gen X, I'm like smack dab in the middle of Gen X. Gen X is usually thought of as like, 40 to say 55, something like that. So you're a little closer to Gen Y. The point is that Gen X and Gen Y, if you're somewhere between early 30s and mid to late 50s, you're still roughly young and your body's still working, your mind is still working, you've got some experience behind you, maybe you've got a family, you've lived in the real world, you've made mortgage payments and car payments, and you still can fight.